Oh, I'm big. I'm big. So, what the fuck are we doing this for?
I guess the general welfare for domestic tranquility
Oh,
and for the heck of it.
yeah, I guess so. Oh, yes. Oh, well, we haven't been around since the horrible breakup of Scott, or of Sal and Rebekah. Sal and Rebekah.
Yes, let me put my hat over my heart and say, boy, that was a weird show.
Yeah,
That was a weird one.
that was a weird one. I, you know, I don't know. I wonder if, oh shit, I'll shift T. Sal was worried about his reputation. I think that's the reason why he broke up with Rebekah. He's worried that people are going to be,
I
going to
thought he
see
was
him
just
as
after I just thought he was after another younger, prettier, gullible person.
could be, but he's worried about his reputation. Yet in the Encyclopedia of American Balloons, they call him here's another slimy, dishonest creationist and liar for Jesus. And then they have a bunch of examples, and I think that's where he got the name Slimy Cell on Reddit, and he's worried about his reputation. Oh my, I don't think he should worry so much about his reputation. I don't know. I think it's already smirched.
Isn't there a Joan Jett song that has to do with a bad reputation?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
what's going through my head right now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. We could play a little bit of this. I got a couple of clips. And I'm not sure what it was all about, but see if you can hear it.
I am not hearing it.
Not at all.
Not at all. I see his
I
lips
can
moving.
barely hear it. Well, that is a fine.
Oh, we've left Dave in the wings. Sorry, Dave.
Dave is here.
How are you doing today?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, I don't understand what's happening here.
It's demons.
It could be. Well, let's try it again.
A trans quote unquote woman is someone that is born male, and I've defined kind of how the sufficient way we could measure it. So there's one guy, he's 55 years old.
Can you hear it?
I can hear it now. Yes.
Yes.
Well, you should have told me.
I'm sorry. I had to look at a text message real quick, and I do apologize for being distracted.
It just seems really weak. For some reason. I'm not sure why. Well, maybe I'll turn my headphones up a little bit.
Trees says he can hear it, so you're going out.
Okay. So let's try this again. Yeah.
I would just say, erring on the side of caution. With regard to trans, I just call it like a truth in advertising. A trans quote unquote woman is someone that is born male, and I've defined kind of how the sufficient way we could measure it. So there's one guy, he's 55 years old.
Got a penis.
He fathered like 8 kids, and then he declared himself to be a 6-year-old girl. And like whatever he had inside, physically, he was a man. And so I would say truth in advertising, it's like, okay, I I think people are entitled to know that you were a father, and that means you had.
Gonna stop you right there, Sal.
Yeah, he's just not doing good from the get go.
Right.
That was terrible.
Yeah. Who's entitled to know that you're a father, other than the state, or if you're paying father's child support, right? Like, truth in advertising is his whole. Okay, so he's gonna break up with Rebekah because she doesn't subscribe to his truth in advertising doctrine from the Bible. I think it was what is it? Was it in Psalms where they talked about truth in advertising, or was that Genesis? I can't remember which it was. Truth in advertising.
It was in the small print.
Thou shalt not be untruthful in advertising, I think, was one of the things that Moses had, right? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's where they would paint pictures on the camel to advertise products.
Yeah. So, what do you think this idiot's doing here? I mean, what the fuck is his point of, publicly breaking up with Rebekah and telling her that they have to part ways, and he can no longer be associated with her because she told him that if a gay couple come to her, that she would marry them. That's what she said, but she hasn't yet married a gay couple. And, there's a hypothetical scenario that he heard like a few days prior, and then he decides, I can no longer associate with you. It smirches my reputation.
Well, technically, though, he put out a video a month before this.
He did.
Talking about he doesn't see eye to eye with some of the things she was saying about LGBTQ.
Did he move out of his house?
Really?
That doesn't look like his house.
Yep. If you go to his page, just about a month before, there's another video with just him talking about the same thing.
Huh?
That's the same hallway. He's just showing you a different view. Like,
it's trashy. He's letting it go.
Well, he's got those mouse turds in the ceiling that he's been after.
Oh, he maybe just tearing the place up.
He's tearing the place up because of the mice in the ceiling, which he hears and no one else does. Make of that.
Do they talk to him?
I think that it probably sound a little bit like Jesus. Sometimes, it depends if you hear him just right.
Just in a real little squeaky voice.
Little squeaky Jesus voice. But they're leaving turds all over in his ceiling, and he keeps, like.
Where's Nitty? We need a Mickey Mouse impersonator.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody remembers, and I wish I had a good clip library for Sal, but he was on talking to John Maddox and a bunch of other people, and all of a sudden he gets this look on his face, and he gets his fists bunched up by his chest, and he stands up like he's got a stick up his butt, and he runs down the hallway, and then he starts looking around at the ceiling, and then he goes back down the hallway and then back up the hallway, and then he grabs a step ladder and he starts moving it and climbing it, and didn't say if he just like left in the middle of a conversation and started doing this shit. And Maddox is like, what the fuck is going on with you? He thought he had like he was having like some sort of fucking breakdown or something. And he keeps strutting around and he's climbing around the ceiling, and he finally comes and tells us, there was a mouse. I heard a mouse. And and then the way he was looking up at the ceiling, it was like, everybody thought he, got a message from Jesus or something. It was funny as shit. And I clipped it. I think I did. I clipped it and I put Benny Hill music to it a while back. I can't remember when I did it, but it was just perfect Benny Hill material.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. So anyway, let's see what else.
People are entitled to know that you were a father.
Oh, okay.
And that means you're physiologically a father, and what you're doing is not what society would customarily call being a woman. And so there is a distinction between a quote unquote trans woman and a woman that was born that way. born.
His facial expression is like, oh, I know that what I'm saying is bullshit, but I got to keep saying it because I started saying it.
Yeah.
And it depends on the society.
Yeah.
There are societies that have embraced transgender folks, and they are just accepted as that is what they are and have been for a long time. It just seems like, once again, Americans, the land of the free and this and that and everything, but we're so uptight about, so many things. We don't, we don't have the topless beaches, and you know what I mean. We're so big at waving the flag on how free we are, but when you actually look, we're so repressed on so many things compared to other countries.
Yeah, and wait a minute, which way is now? Isn't their whole fucking doctrine that we're not supposed to go with the subjective or societal view of how things should be? That it has to be the ironclad absolute word of God.
That's the kind of fundamentalism I was, I won't say raised in, but I was exposed to as a kid. Yeah.
Right, and him too. So, but now he's saying that society views it this way. So he thinks society views it that way. So,
well, I think in his mind, society equal him.
Well,
he is capable of carrying with him and in his mind the rich diversity of society as it exists. And so therefore, when he says society, he means himself.
Yep. And I was listening to that other, oh my God, Doug Pine Creek. Holy shit. That call-in show that he did with Dr. Ben and is it Arden?
Arden, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it was, he did a whole show on it, like 2 hours on it, or an hour and a half or something like that. And he was going on. That was something else too. That was very, very indicative of some kind of a problem. And I made a comment on his thread, and I said, that he should do a little self-reflecting why he has a bee in his bonnet over this stuff, and that he might be surprised at what he finds. Anyway, I'm not sure if he's going to respond to me or block me, but anyway, okay, let's try.
Stephanie had him on the other day too for a nice little chat.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think, he wanted proof.
we ought to get Stephanie on here to give her state of the Pine Creek assessment.
The state of the Pine Creek.
Yeah, after all those hours of talking to him.
Yeah, and Pine Creek is like, he was all over about sports and transgender, and it's just like, why does he care about that, and why is it his job to figure that out? And I don't know. It's just,
and the people whose job it is to figure it out will figure it out.
Right.
Just like everything else, anytime there's something new in sports, they have to address it. Whether it's steroids or blood doping or weight limits or whatever it is. This is just one more thing. They're just going to make the rules. And, and that's what Stephanie was talking about, working about rules with her sport. There you go. You make the rules, and then that's how it is.
And does the government make those rules, or is it like
the
National Football League or whatever the fuck it is?
Right.
It makes the rules.
Right.
Do we need the government to mandate sports? I mean, it's like, I'm really pissed off because they let Bruce Anderson compete with me for distance running because he would always beat me by about 2 feet on the I don't know, it was the 600-yard or some fucking thing distance run. And that wasn't fair because he obviously had a genetic advantage. A 2-foot genetic advantage. Well, why in the fuck aren't they up in arms about that one? I mean, Jesus Christ, I should have won. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. But he's got a bee in his bonnet about it. And
they were, I think Beck and the rest of them were talking too. When you're deep into it, whatever you want to, the medical of it, I don't know what the correct terminology is, but when you're taking all the hormones and all the other things, that physiologically, you're also changing too. You're either gaining or losing muscle mass.
Yeah.
Hey,
So the idea that you walk in all buff when you've been taking, hormones for how many years isn't accurate either.
Stephanie's asking for a link so we can get her opinion about Pine Creek Doug.
Who's Stephanie? Let me
Yeah.
work on this.
Have you sent her a link before?
I have, but
Should be able to have.
let's see. Okay, I gotta work on that. Oh, let's see.
Sorry to interrupt, Dave. She just said she had a limited amount of time, so.
No, let's say Stephanie knows it better than I do. Like I say, I just try to listen to what they're saying and absorb it. But
What are you doing?
as far as sports go,
Yeah.
it's been tried and true over and over again that every sports organization has to address things. Letting minorities in, letting women in. No matter what it is,
Letting them drink
They sit-
coffee.
they sit down and they say, okay, we're going to have, such and such. Here's the rules. Here's the weight limits. Here's the drug testing, whatever. It just hasn't been addressed yet, but
Where do they
it
come
will
down?
be.
Where do they come down on drinking a cup of coffee before you compete? Because I understand that really unlocks a lot of potential.
I don't know, but you probably ask Stephanie. I'm sure there's a phone
Coffee
book
guy
size contract you have to sign that says, you can't eat this, you can't drink this within so much time of competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure it's all laid out.
Yeah, the one that really pisses me off is when they comb, all these other countries and try to find a 6'10" basketball player and drag him over and throw him a basketball. They do that. They do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the fuck? Sports. And who the fuck cares about sports at all? I mean, I don't. I think it's
Only football.
all fuck football too.
Go Dolphins. Go Dolphins.
No. Fuck. Okay, how many people are on a football team? Do you know?
There's 11 people on a side. There's 11 on the offense. There's 11 on the defense. So you got 22, but then you also, like an NFL roster is up to like about 60 people, I think, because you got special teams and you got backups and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, what does a football cost? How much does it cost to buy a football?
An NFL football is about $100.
Oh, NFL? What? Fuck that.
Real, a nice leather, real.
No, I mean one, just a regular old football.
You can get a knockoff for about $30, $40.
$30 times 22 equals $660. You can solve the whole fucking problem. Buy them each ball.
Oh, and don't forget they change balls with almost every play or something. They've got a whole big old bag of balls sitting there.
Yeah, but if everybody had their own ball, then they wouldn't wear them out as fast.
Bring your own ball.
Oh, everybody should have.
BYOB. Bring your own ball.
If you want to be fair in sports, you could buy 22 balls and give them each a ball and put them out there and let them do it.
I know you really enjoyed the math and everything, but did you happen to send Stephanie that link?
I did.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure while you were ball calculating that at least Stephanie got her link.
See how I solve problems in sports? Just no problem. Okay, while we're waiting for Stephanie, let's listen to it.
I mean, like I said, this is all on.
Okay.
That's a little loud.
It is? Am I loud? Am I loud?
No, the video, when you clicked it on, it was like, whoa!
Really? I could turn it down. Oh my God, I turned it down too much. Okay, let's try it. Okay.
I mean, like I said, this is all on you. So,
If I may say to my audience, Rebekah has been the kindest person.
He gets all tearful here. But she said it over and over again. Sal, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is all on you. And Rebekah was like, what the fuck are you doing, Sal? What is this all about? I don't know if you ambushed her on this or...
I was making guac. What are you doing?
Right. It was just so weird and cringy. I don't know.
And one of the kindest people in my life. After Mom died, she was.
Mom died. Yeah. Okay. Mom died. Okay. Let's see here. Where are we? I don't know where I am. There was just one more piece.
Anyway.
And we are joined by Stephanie Helms. Hello, Stephanie.
I understand. I think you're making a mistake, but you know, I know you're a man of conviction, so I do.
Man of conviction.
She's like, oh my gosh. She's just trying not to break out laughing.
Yeah, look at the look on her face. It's just so fucking funny.
She's thinking the same thing as me when she said that.
Okay, I'll give it to Sal. He is a man of conviction.
Yeah, man of conviction. Yeah. I mean, conviction, man. I don't know. It gets you into so much trouble in life.
I think she meant he should be convicted.
Yeah, he should be convicted.
No. He does have his convictions. Unfortunately, they're all directed by his imaginary vision of Christianity, which is different from Rebekah's, which is different from my nephew's, which is different from a whole bunch of people's. It's like, but God told him, so he must know. In other words, he's full of shit.
Yeah. Oh, so what the fuck is up with
Actually, it's the mice. It's the mice telling him, Stephanie.
Yeah, the mice telling.
Probably.
If you missed that part, yeah, the mice are talking to him now.
Oh, Jay. Who was on that stream? Jay and I think Bree was on that stream. I can't remember. We went through the whole thing. It's like, yeah, Jay's all of a sudden Team Rebekah, which is kind of weird because he hasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he's savaged Rebekah over the
years, yes.
Yeah. Over a long period of time.
Well, when I heard Rebekah at the beginning of this talk about how she did her, biblical analysis of, how she should come down on LGBTQ, I was kind of proud of her. I thought she did a pretty good job, don't you?
That's one thing I've give her credit for year after year is during Pride Month, she comes out and she says, I'm a Christian, but I do not hate gay people. And that's one thing I have to give her is that, and the hell thing too. She says there's no hell in the Bible. So there are a couple things I can agree with her on, but then she goes off the deep end with other things. So
the way she explained it to Sal at the beginning of this video, I thought was really cool. And it was an example of how you can look at that book and come up with a whole different idea from somebody else. Like you can look at any book and come up with a whole different idea. And she decided to err on the side of caring about people rather than trying to fuck with people.
And ultimately, what do you got to do? You got to answer for yourself, right?
That's right.
That's it. So what she believes is if she has to stand in front of God, she's going to say, hey, the way I read it, it said I'm supposed to love everybody.
Yeah. And that's
what's held against her, then
fucking full
that's
stop.
What's going to be held against her.
You don't have to worry about, there's a sinner over there 30 miles away and I'm allowing him to sin. Well, no, the Bible doesn't say that you're supposed to go and fucking fuck everybody up. I don't know. So, which brings us...
Unless Yahweh's having a bad day, then...
And that's the problem with any religion based on a collection of fairy tales and fables that, everybody can find a different meaning in any story. I mean, we have... Geez, what happened to my sound? Okay, there it is.
No, you're good.
We have the whole judicial system relies upon people's interpretation of a set of facts, in which case you find someone guilty or not guilty, right? It's the same story, but you're going to, 12 people have to be unanimous in making a decision. Is the prosecution story valid? Is the defense's story valid?
Yeah. And,
Same facts, same words, same stuff, but so how do you so when people say God is the ultimate judge, well, God wrote the goddamn book according to some, right? God wrote that. God said all of this. And what's God gonna do? You people are so stupid you can't even understand what I wrote. And so, Sal's saying, well, God wrote, a man shall not lie with another man as if with a woman, and don't mix up your clothing, and you're supposed to dress this way and not that way if you're this or that, and so yeah, that's there. But there are other things. There's a story of Philip and the eunuch and the Ethiopian eunuch in the New Testament, and Philip, blesses the eunuch and sends him on his converted way. And hey, where do you go with that?
Yeah,
it's just so stupid.
I think Aesop's fable would be a better source.
Well, you got to put it right back to him. Do you believe you're supposed to love everybody like Jesus did, or not? Is there a but? Right? Love everyone, but is there a but in there? That's what the decision you have to make is there a but after love everyone in the Bible? And I think Rebekah decided stop at love everyone. Don't put a but on there.
I want to be clear. I think Sal's afraid of loving anyone's butt.
He's got some tight cheeks when he walks, don't he?
He does have tight cheeks when he looks like he's got a stick up his ass when he gets upset.
He's got a chastity belt on the rear.
like if you ever get in contact with Sal, ask him if one of his books doesn't mention Goodell's incompleteness theorem, and he'll walk back into the library, and it looks like he's got a stick up his butt. I don't know why, but it does.
Well, unfortunately, he'll tear his library apart. If you mention Goodell, all of a sudden, his library winds up looking like an MC Escher drawing.
I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere, Sal. If you just go look. I don't know if you just go look. Seriously.
Not in this book, not in that book, not in this book, not in that book.
Check it again. I think you missed one.
I have that one saved along with Pastor Steve Anderson getting tased, because both of them never get old. They never get old.
Oh, I haven't seen him get tased. You got to bring it.
Steve Anderson?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's really old. It was a long time ago.
He got tased.
And he screams and screams, and it's just hilarious. Yeah, he got a bloody face because they broke the window, and yep. He rolled up at one of those stops they have out there. I think checking for illegals or something. It's kind of like what do you call them? The drinking things they put up. You know what I mean? Where you got to pull over and they stick a flashlight in your face.
Okay.
And he was being uncooperative, so they tased him.
Wow. The top thing that comes up in the future, everyone will be tased for 15 minutes. Is that what happens after the rapture or something? I don't know. I'm not sure. Steve Anderson, a preacher? Oh my goodness. I got to watch it. Anyway, I'll check that out later. So what the fuck is up with Doug? Exactly.
I'll find you a link when I get a second, Mike.
How did Doug get into this whole trans thing? And what is he doing? I mean, what the fuck is wrong with him?
He's an authoritarian fascist.
Yeah.
And it's all the rage in those circles these days. I mean, he says he's a libertarian, but if you go, he can't.
If you're a fucking
I went on his stream that one he was shitting all over Arden and Dillahunt on. You know, he made a whole bunch of deep fake shit about that. And I went on. Yeah, I decided. All right, well, what the.
Yeah.
And his MO is is agreement and reasonableness, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's basically uses the presumptive close technique of a salesman when he's talking to you. I think we can agree. You would agree. You would agree with me that children shouldn't be having surgery. That's kind of thought stopping in a way, because it's like, first of all, depends.
Yeah.
I mean, if a child breaks their arm and requires a couple of plates put in because the arm is shattered, then I think it's fine. If the kid does damage to another area of his body that happens to be the part that everybody likes to get worried about, then it might need surgery there too, and it does happen. Whether it's for gender affirming surgery, first of all, it never happens. Just doesn't for usually past the age of consent. I mean, the cases where it might have happened, I think Jazz Jennings was, had genital reconstructive surgery before she was 18, but it was very close to, and it was an unusual case. And again, it's a medical procedure undertaken in concert with the individual involved and a host of medical professionals. And one of the things that's really misunderstood is the degree to which evaluation must be conducted.
Yeah.
Another thing that's misunderstood is the regret rates. While too bad it's not universal that everybody's happy with the outcome of medical choices or procedures, but that's the case in every medical procedure. And in the case of trans people, if there are medical choices involved, those who have undergone those procedures, the regret rate is very, very small, like 2%.
Yeah, it's what they're putting out there is that the children, we have to worry about the children. They're being like the camp thing, right? They get them in camp and they start indoctrinating them, and they try to turn them trans or turn them gay. It's like, no, that's not what's going on at all. When you look, you've got to look at the reality of what the fuck is happening. And then as far as kids, that are trans, they have parents. They have a social services fucking infrastructure and doctors and everything. And why are you worried about somebody else's kids? It's sort of like they plant this little bug in your brain where you start imagining horrifying things happening to the children. And once they plant that bug, you have to stop yourself and ask, what is the fucking reality here? What is really going on with individuals? And why are you trying to make laws that make parents incapable of getting medical help for their children? I mean, what the fuck is that?
So to get to the crux of the biscuit here, as regards Doug, he's having fun. I mean, the title of that stream is "I Am Having Too Much Fun." It's a joke to him, and it gets views, and it's sensational, and it gets his chat, his side chat, all riled up, because they're as willfully ignorant and devoted to an imaginary conception of what trans people are and what they're all about as he is.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a futile argument, really, to go. I mean, after that stream, I was on his stream for I don't know, maybe 45 minutes, and having the back and forth. And I did an open room, and sitting there, first I wanted to talk about, I was trying to talk about a completely different subject, and Beck was in the room, and it wasn't 2 minutes before Doug pops up like, I don't
Goblin.
Goblin.
know. So, yeah, like the goblin out of the closet. Up pops Doug, and he was there for almost 3 fucking hours.
Wow. Yeah.
Trying to quote mine, basically trying to go, well, you agree, don't you, that
Yeah.
to this point of view. So he's looking for something to clip and say, even the transes agree. And the point is that during the course of the whole thing it's tough. You point out this stuff, you talk till you're blue in the face. There is history here in terms of recognition, in terms of treatment, in terms of all of this stuff. This is the case on the medical side. It's also the case in sports. It's also it's in the case of acceptance of trans identities and trans people. It's vastly improved than it was in the 1950s. And there are different forms and methods of diagnosis and treatment. And sports tried a whole bunch of things to try to decide mostly how to answer the Matt Walsh question. What is a woman for the purposes of athletic competition? What is a woman? Yeah, how do we determine the eligibility for the women's division? Because there's never been criterion for eligibility, formal criterion in sport at the Olympic Games. There's never been a criterion as to who is eligible to compete in the men's division. Does that tell you something about the culture?
Yeah.
Does it tell you something about the culture that when in an Olympic competition, skeet shooting, a Chinese woman wins in Barcelona, and in Atlanta, the next games, the next quadrennium, there's suddenly a women's division. She won gold, and then they wouldn't let her compete against the best in the world.
Yeah.
And so, you can draw the lines as well. Let's talk about track and field. Where are the advantages? And it's like, yeah, you can talk about it. Like, you can, but it is demonstrable that in a hand-eye coordination sport that requires skill in pull, that kind of thing. Yeah, of course it requires some physical training. It requires you want to compete at an elite level, you're going to train pretty freaking hard.
So
but it's not by virtue of masculinity or maleness or femaleness that you can shoot a clay pigeon out of the air.
Right.
But if a guy feels cheated out of his gold medal because some bitch won it, and I don't know if you guys have ever experienced the snide bullshit that is directed at competent and, in fact, excellent female athletes. Look at the snide shit that's always gone on about the Williams sisters.
Yeah.
Look at the attitude. I used to hear it in sailing all the time, and I would get outraged. My friend Betsy Allison would win the regatta, and everybody, well, Bets isn't really a girl. It's like, fuck you, all the way to Sunday.
Yeah.
There's a good deal of cultural baggage that people bring to the very notion of competition, especially, listen, like Cenk Uyghur. Well, I can bench press 250 pounds. Men are always stronger than women. Okay. You know, I'll bet, I'll bet, I'll bet a Brazilian boxer, female Brazilian boxer, could punch its goddamn lights out.
But even in that though, there's weight limits. You know, it's like boxing. You got featherweights and you got heavyweights, and they don't fight each other for specific reasons. Well, I mean,
in Brazilian judo, there is an open category, and people do, but it's by choice. You know, it's like, yeah, I want to see what I can do against.
But when you're like, like Olympic levels and everything, you know, like we were talking before, there's this huge phone book of rules, and you have to be this. Well, I know big with the wrestling. Wrestlers are big on what category they want to wrestle in. And it matters, just a few pounds makes all the difference. So you might have a wrestler that's eaten a lot a couple of days before the meet, or somebody that's not eating a lot because they want to either bump up or bump down.
Yeah, weight limit sports are really interesting. It's like, especially if you're on the borderline between weight categories. In sailing, in one design sailing, there are crew weight limits. So that's a ritual. You know, you've got to.
There's probably so many crew or whatever too, right? So you got, it would be unfair if you had more people rigging everything than another team, right?
Most one design classes have gone to weight limit rather than crew size, crew number, just because it's more. That's more. Most one design classes are small boats, but larger boats, yeah. There's like the America's Cup class is, the old America's Cup class, the monohulls back in the day. They were 11 people and a somebody who could ride around the back of the boat and be the observer. Usually the rich guy that paid for the boats.
So I don't know all the details of this story because I never really checked it out. But my niece, who's happily married to another woman today, when she was like 14, she wanted a hockey team in her school in Mount Iron, Minnesota, and she wanted to get on the hockey team, and they wouldn't let her on because she was a girl. So she went in front of the school board, and she brought up a law in Minnesota that they couldn't discriminate based on sex or anything. So they had to create a women's hockey team so that, God forbid, she wouldn't be on the boys' hockey team. And she probably could have kicked all their asses anyway. But we were very proud of her for going in front of the school board and just wrangling them.
My son played Pee-wee. When my son played Pee-wee football, there was a girl quarterback on one of the teams. She was really good.
Yeah, and Title IX has basically opened it up. If you can't field a team, then you have to allow a person onto, and that's another question in athletics. In particularly, there are so many different levels, right? You've got interscholastic stuff, which is high school, middle school. You've got intercollegiate stuff, which is the NCAA, or you're following it. But each one of these things has rules. Each system in sport has rules. There are rules of the game, and part of the rules of the game are the rules of qualification. And each sport makes those decisions. And here are these lunatics that are saying we know better for political reasons, and we're too scared to, we're too scared to actually read the rules and regulations. You want government. You want to do this by popular vote. And there's another problem with Doug. It's like, well, anything you pass by popular vote is popular vote because that's where rights come from, according to Doug. Right? I mean, well, you reject the idea that rights come from a deity, then they must come from somewhere. They must come from people. And his way of determining what people's rights is majority rule, right? And I mean, at the end of that stream, he was making this argument. I'm going, Doug,
We're not a
That
true
means
democracy.
that everything that happened between 1933 and 1945 in a certain Middle European country was moral.
People confuse. We're not a true democracy. We're a democracy. We're a republic, and we have federalism. We have a blend.
And it's just a fucking game. Okay, people are supposed to get exercise, play a game, and entertain people watching the game. But now it's gotten to this
Be right
money,
back.
win a medal bullshit, and you know it's just gone. I think it's all crazy. I mean, religion and sports are two things that I could do without. I don't know. Professional sport.
But you mentioned that earlier, and I wanted to get on. That's like, I don't care about sports is an argument that I've heard that from Professor Dave, who also draws a line on trans acceptance at sport. Also, I don't know where Stephen Woodford stands at this point in time, but he used to, and that became a big issue in 2018 with a certain atheist organization.
And it's going to boil down to, we just all take a deep breath, let all the sports work this out, which they will.
Somebody
and
else.
then it'll be. But instead, everybody's got a big blah 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 right now, and then Stephanie, I think, knows it's going to be worked out. They're going to write the rule books so that everybody can participate. That's where it's going to be, because that's, unless,
What I'm saying, Stephanie,
may Bigfoot forbid that something bad happens, but
where I was going was, you might not care. You, Dave, Stephen, a lot of people say, I don't care about sports. But the point is, a lot of people do, and some of the people who do are trans and play sports.
Right.
So for me personally, it's I wouldn't continue to sail if that atmosphere, if my teammates didn't want me, if my sailing club didn't want me, if my J-24 fleet didn't want me, if the Etchells fleet didn't want me, if the J-105 fleet didn't want me, if all of these people didn't want me, and if, in other words, if I was universally rejected because of my gender status in some fashion or another, or because of my sex in some way or another, would that not be discrimination?
Yeah.
Would that not affect an individual? And even if it's a tiny fraction of people affected by this, isn't that what we mean when we say that one of us in chains, none of us are free? Isn't that what we say when this class of people can be excluded from a human activity that an awful lot of people enjoy either participating in or watching? And that's the crux of the biscuit.
Yeah, basically, I get on board when they make a law, because I don't think there should be fucking laws about sports, right? Particularly, I don't know, other than not discriminating in general. And I would get on board if there was, gross discrimination in some category. But other than that, I don't know anything about the fucking thing. Oh my God, you faded, you disappeared, Stephanie.
There is a point.
I'll be right
in
back.
The whole thing.
Ghost. She's a ghost.
They have contracts that are negotiated by, of course, a team of lawyers, and they all get paid well. And like, again, nobody that's in professional sports, Olympics, or anything gets one piece of paper that you sign.
Yeah.
Like when your kids play sports, they send you home one paper, and then there's another paper that the doctor has to do, or they have to get a physical somewhere else, whatever, right? So basically you have a parent permission form and a doctor permission form. That's it. These folks have, it's huge. Everybody knows it's done any kind of business deals. Contracts are pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. And then you have all the, the subcontract parts, subpart A to subpart 2A under B and da 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 da.
I don't know. I find the whole competition thing very confusing. I mean, it's a very big subject, and I'm sure there are professionals that can deal with this, and I'm not going to, I don't know.
I like watching football. I don't really like watching other things. I do enjoy the Olympics, but football is my thing. I think it's fascinating. I think it's like a chess game, and it's there's something in my lizard brain or whatever you want to call it that sees that sometimes you need competition just because it's something in us. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I went to a real football game once.
check the private chat, Mike. I found that link for you.
The Pastor Dave, yeah, I've got that
Pastor
one.
Steve, yeah.
Pastor Steve, yeah.
Yeah. Don't look at that one you were looking at, because
By the way, Stephanie did a little.
that's not the one. You want to look at the other one.
Other one? What
Yeah,
other
that
one?
one you mentioned earlier, that doesn't have it in there. That's just Steve crying about it. The one I sent you is where they actually break the window and
Right,
hear him
Pastor
screaming.
Pastor tased by Border Patrol, that one.
That's
Anyway.
the one. Yep.
Stephanie today did a nice little song for Donald Trump.
She was singing on my stream too.
Yeah, she sang a little song for Donald Trump.
Was you?
Didn't it?
Poison Ivy. She was singing the Poison Ivy thing.
Yeah, I did sing for him.
Yeah, you sang for Donald. Donald's in a bit of trouble, maybe. I don't know. In Georgia, it sounds like kind of the biggest one so far, but I got to talk to my neighbor and see if he's still going to defend this son of a bitch after all this. I can't believe he needs to get the fuck out of the Republican Party because he's tanking the party. He's fucking screwing it up. I don't know.
And
But-
everybody around him, he's taken down instead of saying, you know what? I don't want all my friends affected. You know what I mean? Like, show a little integrity and say, hey, I'm the one that told him to do this. You know what I mean? And I'll take the heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want the, I was the boss. They were doing what I told them, and they shouldn't be held responsible. Oh, no. He's going to take them all with him.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all going to pay more of a price other than, the nonsense of it all than he is.
Yeah.
They're actually going to jail. They're actually getting fines. They're actually having their law licenses suspended,
Oh, let's see. Where's my Pastor Tased video so I can link it in the. Oh, I wanted to play this little thing here. My son sent this to me today.
We need Bigfoot there, Aslo. He's saying we need Jeebus. Forget that. We need Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
I agree.
Bigfoot has a
would
great
be-
attitude.
Yeah.
Leave everybody be. That's a great attitude Bigfoot has.
Go to the woods.
Yeah, just chill
Yeah.
out in the woods. Have a Snickers bar and some jerky, and things will be fine.
So this is TikTok, which is weird. I think TikTok is weird, but
Oh, there are still people left alive. Okay, this is going to sound really weird, but what year is this? It's 2073. The time machine worked. It's been 50 years. Are you alone, or are there other survivors? Survivors? Yes. Our climate was on the brink of collapse. Did humanity not get driven underground? I was sent here to salvage what I can and hopefully find a clue to avoid the inevitable annihilation that our scientists warned us about. Oh, right, that. Yeah, no, everything's good. In fact, better than good. Humanity's thriving. The global average temperature is 70 degrees. Everybody on Earth has access to food, fresh water, housing, education. We've all but eradicated disease, and you have to go back 3 generations to find anyone who remembers war. How is that even possible? Okay, you're not going to believe me, but turns out Jesus was real. And he came back. And he created this paradise on Earth? No. No. He just took all the Christians with him. Yeah, the Rapture happened and we got left behind, and without the Christians holding us back, we actually progressed as a society. We'll all be damned. Technically, yes.
isn't that good? I thought that was pretty good.
That's very good.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here.
Well, you heard it yourself, people from the future.
Yeah, I thought that was a good wind up.
So 64 says they'd like to learn more about
Yeah.
qualifications, etc., and trans people in sport. If you want to get beyond the surface discussion about this, this individual example or that individual example, then if you're willing to wade through 160 pages of analysis of literature of trans focused on trans women in sport, the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport released a survey of literature from 2011 to 2021, inclusive of medical literature, social literature, some gray literature that's sort of in the middle. It's CCES .ca, I think it is. I can't remember precisely, but if you hit Dr. Google and Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport transgender study, it'll pop up. But there's there's the abstract, there's all the stuff that goes along with scholarly research, and CCES is part of the World Anti-Doping Association. It's basically Canada's arm of WADA, which is the agency that controls for controlled substances and forbidden substances in elite athletics. So these are people that really have a dog in the hunt, and the study is quite comprehensive. Again, it's a literature review. It's not a review of specific things, but it'll give you a good look.
That's an awesome video. I was very proud of that.
Yep, it is. So I linked that in the description. This is the promo for Grassman Chronicles episode 3. So,
and I'll give you a teaser. I'll give you a teaser. I got my hat. So I'll have my hat on.
And we got some good bagpipe music here. And you need to go to Dave's channel to watch it, and I linked it. So anyway.
And it's my birthday celebration as well.
Oh.
So we're going to give away a Grassman t-shirt. So tune in. You just might win yourself a t-shirt.
I can't do that because I've tuned in. I've done that so often, and I've never won anything. And it just breaks my heart. So I'm not even going to try.
This may be your lucky day.
No, I don't think so. I look at the past. I look at my past performance, and nope.
Well, there's only 2 of them in the world.
Yeah.
Trees and I have one. So
Okay. Oh wow!
You'll join an elite club with a one-of-a-kind t-shirt.
That would be cool. I got another one here. Let's see here, Dylan and Dustin.
And if you can't tune in live, don't worry. We're going to give everybody 24 hours.
Okay.
So if you can't tune in live,
philosophy is like being in a dark room looking.
Oh my God! I can't believe it did that to me. I can't believe it just did that to me.
we didn't want to leave anybody out that might not catch it. So
Okay.
It's like being in a dark room looking for a black cat. Metaphysics is like being in a dark room looking for a black cat that isn't there. Theology is like being in a dark room looking for a black cat that isn't there and shouting, "I found it." Science is like being in a dark room looking for a black cat.
Using a fucking flashlight!
I thought that was a good one.
and don't forget tonight, Ember is at the captive desk. 7 p.m. Eastern.
Tonight?
That's tonight.
Okay. I did not know that. Yep. Let's see. Okay.
I just popped my little 45 seconds worth of tribute to the Lord of Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, yeah. That one's in the description. So, re-indicted for Donald?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that one. Yeah, I was pretty excited. I got a message from Apple News last night at like 10 o'clock. When the fuck did they do the indictment? I thought they would have done it.
It was late. It was late. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was what, 10 o'clock or something last night or something when things started popping on, I think.
Yep. It's already in the description, Stephanie. So everybody should go listen to your tribute to our friend Donald. I can't wait till he just like flees the country, right, and hides on some remote island, which is what he's going to end up doing. Like, are they going to set bail for this guy, or because he may not show up? It'd be kind of cool. Okay. And then we have.
I want to go back to Sal and Rebekah. That breakup. That's very sad.
Oh, are you saddened by this? I mean, that was
crushing.
That would be like what the fuck, Morgan and Morgan and Paul? Is that what it is, or what the fuck is it? Is it?
If Paul and Morgan is the name of a channel of two Christians.
If Paul and Morgan broke up, it would be like just historic, right?
Sal almost cried. I think he lost his best friend.
His eyes got all weepy, teary.
And then the cringiest fucking part about it is Rebekah asked him, how many gay Christians do you know, Sal? And he said, well, I knew one back in 1980, and I was praying with him, and then I got afraid because, I might catch something. Like, I think he thought that if he prayed with a gay guy, he would catch AIDS. And he got all afraid. But I mean,
he actually mentioned that.
Yeah.
He actually said, I mean,
that's probably the last time he had any kind of learning about AIDS to begin with. So he probably thinks you can get AIDS from just being around gay people still.
I didn't get the transcript on this.
It's like cooties.
Yeah, you catch cooties. Yeah. I used to be really afraid of that back in kindergarten, in first grade.
That was a good burn. I will give Rebekah that. She's like, do you actually know any gay people? Right. And that's how you nail somebody that's a bigot every time. Do you actually know, whoever it is you don't like?
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know any. Never talked to one. Don't know nothing about them. Just don't like them.
That's a criteria that you apply to every one of these conservative, fear-based views. Is when was the last time that you were affected by any of this shit, right? When was the last time it was a problem for you, And it's like, most people are like, well, no, it wasn't. Just, I mean, get everybody all riled up and get them to fear something that is so remote in their life. Persecution, right? When was the last fucking time any of us here were persecuted if we're white and male? White guys don't get persecuted very often. We get us all excited about being persecuted, and we're just all fucking go crazy. I don't know. Drives me nuts. So Stephanie disappeared for a moment. I have a thing. Where's the thing? Oh, there's a thing. Look at this thing.
Is that Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see the arrowhead up there? Okay. You see the arrowhead where my little mousy thing is? Okay, that's the arrowhead of Minnesota, and I was up here, and we drove all the way across to Bay Lake Superior, which is over there where my mousy thing is. And this is a geological map of Minnesota, and we have drill core samples all over particularly up on the Iron Range because of all the
Mining.
the mining. Yes, and this is an incredible map. I'd like to see how you explain this shit with the flood, because we've got volcanic fucking rock on one side, and then we've got this big band of iron ore. This is actually, you can't see it very well here, but that is the Iron Range. Okay, you see that little strip right there where my cursor is? You see my cursor? Yeah, you
Yes,
can't.
I see your cursor, and there's a strip there.
Yeah, that is the Iron Range. That's the outcropping, basically, of an old ocean where there were bacteria that created iron ore, basically. And I lived right up in that area. But in this map, if you get it full, I've got a full resolution PDF copy of it. It's not as blurry as this little picture I took of it, but it is incredibly complicated. And when you look at this, there is no fucking way that you're going to explain that with a 1 year flood with some rocks swishing around or some water swishing around. I mean,
the creationist is going to do what you were doing there. They're going to zoom in on one little thing. Yeah.
Grand Canyon.
Ignore the rest.
The Grand Canyon is the only thing they ever talk about when they talk about geology.
And Mount St. Helens. Grand Canyon, Mount St. Helens. It's like, if I hear it one more time.
But I've been looking into, like, I was up there and I'm tracing out a river system which was created basically by the last set of glaciers receding. And I started wondering what is under my feet, and the answer to that question turns out to be as complicated as all those different colors on that map. There's a whole bunch of places where well, in fact, I found out that the ground that I'm sitting on right now is Lake Cambrian, basically about 500 million years ago. The sandstone that's out here that I keep picking up and looking for fossils, which are very difficult to find in the Lake Cambrian. But it's an old sea bed, basically, is what we're sitting on right now. But I mean, every one of those little colors is a different formation and has a different history to it. It's very, very difficult to explain that with swishing water for a year. Swishy water. Anyway, I don't know where Stephanie went. Disappeared.
I can't find any search terms that provide me with Noah's flood and Minnesota. So, yeah, I'm just trying to see if anybody's tried to tackle it. In the local research journals of the creationists, and it just doesn't come up.
They got to tell me how the flood created that iron ore band. That big thing that's called the Iron Range, which is a big chunk of basically the remnants of bacteria.
Stephanie's got cool effects.
Yeah,
she appears and disappears.
Yeah, I like that. Fado.
Very, very spooky.
Yeah, you're very ghostly.
She's preparing early for her Halloween special.
Very Grassman Chronicles.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Let's see.
So climate change. Some interesting stuff going on at AIG. Now, there's a guy named who did this video, and his name is Brian. Brian Oswald.
You better recognize. That's the you better recognize guy.
Is that who he is? Okay.
Brian always says that. Yeah, you better recognize.
He's a former public school teacher, worldwide.
I know.
And author of Quick Answers to Tough Questions. And he went to Bryan University, which is kind of suspicious because they spell it exactly the same way, with a Y, which is Educational Excellence, Biblical Foundation, Transformed Lives. And then he got his master's from Lee University, which is a top-tier Christ-centered experience. And when you're indoctrinated in your youth, and then the two universities you go to have that as their headline, basically.
They've got a they've got a couple former teachers over at AIG, and every time I hear it, I was like, "Oh man, those poor kids."
Yeah, I know.
What did you teach them?
Well, actually, that's what he taught him. It says he taught him like biblical based something or another. He's what the fuck? Where's his little bio here? Brian Osborne.
You remember what Dan Phelps told us too? They're expanding their school. It's going to be like K through 12 now or something in that new building they bought from. What was it? Toyota, I think they bought it from.
Yep. Yeah, one hell of a building. Pretty amazing. Passionate, whatever, let's see. Earned his master's. For 13 years, he boldly and enthusiastically taught Bible history in a public school system in Tennessee. What the fuck? I never took Bible history in high school. Did you? And for 20 years, he has helped youth and young adults in the local church to know and defend their faith. Brian's gifted.
I will say when my son was in school, they did have a religions class involved in part of the social studies history type thing. So they do have it now, but
So
they
who's this
didn't
we're
have it
talking
when
about?
I went. What's that?
Who's the person that we're talking about at teaching and all that?
Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one over all the way over on the right there.
Okay.
Brian Osborne. He has giftedness as a communicator and his passion for revealing the truth of God's words. Obviously,
he likes the law of biogenesis too. He always bringing up the law of biogenesis. The law of biogenesis disproves all of evolution. Ha ha ha. Yeah, he.
See, I don't think that's the ideal person to be teaching comparative religion.
No.
Yeah, somebody like who's that guy? Something Mark Henry. He does a pretty good, on that that Bible for Breakfast. He does multiple religions, and he's a really good example of that. I've never had a good religions of the world exposure in a public school ever.
Yeah, I heard prison for the rest of his life too on a lawyer channel. That's kind of what they predicted for Trump. Anyway.
Yeah, but he's still the wealthy class, so I don't know.
Yeah, he'll get out of it. Yeah, and if it is prison, there'll be a golf course there.
Maybe he'll get a ticket. They'll just write him a citation for being a bad rich guy. But I don't know. I just cannot confidently say that he'll see a day of jail time. Yeah.
So do you think we can review a 6-minute video and intelligently, actually get through 6 minutes in less than 3 hours?
Yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut, and that should help it go by quicker.
Okay, let's give it a try here, because this is pretty important. When this came out, I think 11 days ago.
Our government wants more oil and gas.
Newsflash, people disagree about fossil fuels, and even Christians disagree about fossil fuels.
Some people have what they believe is sort of a God's eye point of view. They know what the ideal temperature is supposed to be, and somehow it was 50 years ago.
We know creation is in trouble because of the actions of humans. We know as Christians we must do something, but maybe we don't always know what.
So what is your authority when you think about the issue of fossil fuels? Some people trust the first person they hear on the topic. Some people think that naturalistic science or reason is our only authority. And many people believe whatever is popular in their particular social circle.
It's a fabulous community of people. I was trying to stop oil at Kingsbury Oil Depot. I spent 14 hours in a police cell, and I came out and I was released on police bail. And I was given an injunction which said, if you go back to that oil terminal, you can face up to 2 years in prison and you can face unlimited fines. And we went back to the house and we all talked it through and we supported one another, and I had a good cry. I'm really good at crying.
But we assert that God's word is the ultimate authority in all things, including life. Now we understand even things like fossil fuels. Our Creator is real, whether people acknowledge him or not. He has spoken. The prophet said it. Isaiah 40, verse 8.
Oil?
The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Jesus said it. Matthew 24, verse 35. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. And guys, as followers of Jesus, we want to use the Bible the way he used the Bible. Makes sense, right? Matthew 4, verse 4. But he answered, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." What does the Bible say about fossil fuels? Of the 200 times God...
Okay. What does
Are you ready, Stephanie? Are you ready? He's gonna.
What does the Bible say about
Yeah. I want to see. I have never heard a take from a Christian that said God was the first petroleum geologist.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I've seen this, so
everything we need to know is coming up.
God's word mentions oil. It refers to olive oil, anointing oil, and oil for burning lamps. Of the 22 times coal is mentioned, all refer to fire. From family hearths and blacksmiths to holy angels of God, coal is associated with productive fire and God's holiness ridding the world of sin. The ancient book of Job includes the Bible's only specific reference to mining. In Job 28, man puts his hand to the flinty rock and overturns mountains by the roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eyes see every precious thing.
Okay, that's everything the Bible has to say about climate change. Right? Okay, so I think
olive oil.
But
I am's what I am's. That's all what I am's.
No,
I picture Bluto dressed up as a Roman centurion.
He should.
What were they mining for in the time of Job? Let's assume that Job was in fact it is in fact the oldest book in the Bible, and so it's Bronze Age, right? So they're mining for copper, they're mining for tin. They've got a way of getting a fire to a temperature where both of those metals can melt and amalgamate, and that's about it. But doesn't seem like they were anticipating vast reservoirs of petroleum under the ground.
And billions.
What?
Because it didn't exist yet. It didn't exist yet. The flood made it. See, they think the flood made all the oil.
Yeah, and the coal.
So and the coal. So
must that take a lot of olive trees?
Yeah.
Which doesn't explain their own thing of Ken Ham has Noah with a forge and everything on the ark, but yet there's no coal yet until after the flood.
So what about Adam and Eve? They didn't dig in the earth and pull out precious gems because they didn't have any coal because the flood hadn't happened yet, right?
Yep, that's when, their stories don't even make sense.
I mean, they're not really. I mean, when they speak of coals, they're usually speaking of those leftover embers from burning wood.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So him saying that there's mining in there before the flood goes against their story that the flood laid down all the layers and made the coal and the oil and the gold and everything else.
Yeah. Okay. So I think he should go in front of the fucking climate change world conferences they're having and give his knowledge to them, because we can make political decisions with 7 billion people now mining for coal and burning it and whatever. I mean, that travels, right? I mean, that.
The olive oil is still, though, that's great.
The olive oil, right?
Good. There's olive oil in the Bible. Oh.
What the fuck does that have to do with
Give me oil in my lamp.
All right. Are you going to finish it up?
I am. Okay.
While Scripture has no direct teaching on modern energy grids and fossil fuels, it does assert principles that we must apply in our thinking about fossil fuels.
Nope.
And so, according to the Bible, it's not inherently bad to mine these sorts of things.
We cannot let the oil companies and gas companies and petrostates tell us what is permissible.
So, what principles must inform our biblical view of fossil fuels? Well, number one, creation is good. CO2 is good. It is essential for life. It is not pollution. Water vapor is good. The greenhouse effect is good. God is generous and actively provides more than enough for billions of us to flourish on this planet He's given us. We are to be good stewards of God's creation.
Okay, there you go.
Pause.
There
The
you
one
go.
thing that lets billions of people exist on this planet is that whoever the guy was that was able to manufacture or extract nitrogen from the air or whatever, that's the guy who lets billions of people live, because without that process, and I could be a little bit wrong about that process because I'm not a chemist or whatever, but whatever it was that allowed people to have fertilizer is what allowed billions of people to exist on this planet. Otherwise, we'd be having major starvation, the likes of which we've never seen before. Am I right? Come on.
Well, my thing is, they're so against solar, okay? But didn't their God put solar in all the plants? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't give us green hair, right?
Mm-mm.
But the plants, yeah, they're doing pretty good,
And then the part about being stewards of God's creation, okay? So go forth and be fruitful and multiply. But gee, we did that. So there are 7 billion of us now using coal and oil and whatever. And are we being good stewards of the planet according to him? Yeah, because CO2 is good. So how's the greenhouse effect working for you down there today, Scott? Down in Texas.
Today's actually not a bad day because it's only going to get up to 97. Talk to me on Thursday when it gets up to 110 to maybe 112. I think we're going to have at least a 111 this week.
Yeah, I don't think you've reported too many days in the 90s in the last.
No, this
months.
is a
You
cold
see that?
front.
Yeah.
65.
Yeah, we got.
That's what it says. 65.
Well, we're up to 76 now today. We're heading for 80, but yesterday we were 65, I think. Yeah.
This is not
I
August in Ohio.
I just really hate
This
you
is
guys
not.
right
I
now.
know.
It's disturbing, Scott. I've lived here all my life, and I had a buddy of mine stop by yesterday, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, man, kind of chilly, and this is the time of year usually, I don't have a shirt or nothing on. You either got the AC on or you're sitting outside on, because it's too warm in the house. And
in June in Minnesota, it was in the 90s almost every day except for like 6 days, I think. And June is usually our cooler month. We're usually down in the low 80s. And then July and August are hot. And last month in July, where I come from, the Iron Range, it was 38 degrees one night when I was up there. 38 degrees in fucking July, and it's like something weird is happening, and I've never seen a summer like this ever.
We're dipping into the 50s in the evenings, and this time of year it should be like perfect out in the evenings, like 75 or something, and because that's when I like to sit out by my pond, in the evenings with all the bugs and the frogs and all that, and it's peaceful. There's no traffic noise, And I went out there the other evening. I had to put on a flannel shirt in August because I went out there and I was actually shivering.
It was, Okay. More of him.
Well, that makes sense biblically. Most Christians would agree on that. Here's the question I'll push back with is, why do the secularists care about what we do with this planet?
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing.
I mean, in the secular worldview, in the evolutionary worldview, we're just rearranged pond scum. And we're really just kind of bumpy molecules with no real purpose in life. And one day we'll cease to exist with no memory preserved. Why care about what happens to
Telling
this?
yourself that, Chief.
Christians have a good.
Yeah, okay, so that's spiel. We're just secularists. We're just pond scum. Why do we care what happened? Well, fuck you. I care.
Nobody,
It's
you,
the
yeah,
old
you notice
build-up
what
of
do you
strong
care?
man.
Yeah, what do you care? What do you care?
Yeah, right.
Nothing about everybody else in the world, you
Yeah.
know? Nothing about your children or grandchildren or nothing. No. Just
All going to heaven.
just you. Yeah.
Yeah, like what the hell do you care for?
And that's the thing we've had a problem with all this infiltration into the government too, and is why our highways and bridges and rails and everything else are all falling apart. We've lost foresight. You know, we used to say, let's build big things, you know, and future generations are going to get electricity from this huge dam we built how long ago? And now
You
it's, hey,
know-
let's put up solar panels and this and that. And everybody's like, no, let's not do anything like that. Let's just let everything fall apart. The electrical grid's falling apart. How many places are borderline that they're going to brown out trying to use their air conditioning? Let's just not do anything, because Jesus is just going to come along and burn it all up anyway.
You know, I think it goes back to it's as if the only teaching of Christ that they pay attention to is don't build up treasures in this world.
Except for Ken Ham.
You just except for the treasure that they can richly mine off of the internet and stuff in their pockets. It's like, why should you care about this world? As a matter of fact, why should you care about paying your electric bill? Send me that money instead.
Right.
I mean, what is it seems like they don't have that their definition of caring is not at all inclusive of the notion of compassion and of foresight. Like, as you were saying, it's like, why should we care if we have highways? We've got them now. We don't need to maintain them. We don't need to do all of this stuff because Jeebus is coming from the clouds. It's just and it goes back to that whole idea. It's like when everybody lost their minds when Obama said, you didn't build that. And fundamentally, you as an individual did not. Right. We as a society did, and that's what we should be caring about. And we should be caring about the future of our children, our grandchildren, the planet, all of that.
It's amazing that.
And it's like,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just saying,
I have a tendency to run on, in case you hadn't noticed.
Well, the thing is, I have the same disease.
You do.
But no, the guy, he asked the question, well, why do you secularists care? And then he starts showing that video of what's the girl's name? Now a young woman.
Greta
video. Yeah.
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg. And she goes, people are dying. Ecosystems are collapsing. They're suffering. And he doesn't realize that that's his freaking answer.
We're in the middle of another mass extinction.
It's like you secularists shouldn't care about things. Well, we do. Go figure that. Why don't you try to figure out how is it that secular people care about other people? And when he talks about
just pond scum, we're just pond scum. It's like, we need pond scum.
Yeah.
We need all those little things that live in the water. They're important too. And when you kill them, and then it kills the marsh, and then it kills the drainage and everything else, and then along comes a storm, and everybody's houses wash away because you messed with the pond scum. So the pond scum matters too, very much.
Keep in mind that this fucker in this video, AIG, basically financed by hundreds of millions of dollars, is preaching to a whole lot of people who are listening to him, and a lot of children who are listening to him. And we're in a bit of a pickle right now, and he's preaching that we shouldn't give a fuck because the Bible said,
how many views does it have, Mike?
625,000 subscribers, 204,000 views. Okay, and he's fucking.
I'm happy to get 100. This clown's got
200.
200.
You know,
Oh man,
11 days.
The thing is, what you mentioned, his reaction to Greta Thunberg is not to even hear what she has to say. He doesn't even. He is questioning her foundation for being able to say it, and by implication, he's basically saying, "I don't care because God tells me it's of no consequence," which is, fuck, mate. You know,
Even as
argue the principle, not the foundation. Jesus fucking Christ.
even as a Christian, you know, interpreting the Bible, you can't really come to that conclusion. Somebody has to be breathing in your ear to get you to come to that conclusion and call it biblical. And it's just, I think they get a lot of donations from the freaking petroleum companies, probably. But
probably, yeah. That could explain.
Like we were talking with Dan, Ken Ham knows some people with a lot of money. And they'll throw it around, and they will throw it around like nothing. Oh, what do you need? You need 20 million? Yeah, no problem. They write him a check. It's amazing.
AIG does at least 3-4 blogs and videos a month on climate change, basically preaching the same bullshit. And they're getting the same kind of views. But okay, we got 3 minutes left. Let's see where he's going here.
Good reason to care because God has told us to care. Biblically and rightly understood, man is the most important part of God's creation. Man is made in God's image. He's the crowning jewel of God's creation.
Oh my
We are to
God.
see the flourishing of mankind for the glory of God and the good of people. And more people is a good thing because we're called to multiply and to fill the earth. And so we oppose groups like Extinction Rebellion and those ideologies who view mankind as mere consumers or a cancer on the earth. Creation is damaged by the curse. So we protect creation, but we also work it to make it productive. And that makes sense when you really think about it. Cheap, reliable power has improved people's lives in recent history in dramatic ways. Fossil fuels power the machines that help us mitigate things like floods and tsunamis, and landslides, droughts, and eruptions.
All the fucking things. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Is there anybody there?
Sorry, I had to get a pop.
So,
My pop was gone, and I was thirsty. Excuse me.
Okay, we're supposed to be the stewards of the earth. We're the crowning achievement, but we're supposed to use creation. But doesn't that mean that we could possibly fuck it up? And also, we sinned, you know, so we're all fucking damned. I don't know. It's just all very confusing to me.
It's a very muddled theology, and I guess that he uses all these high resolution pictures just to fool people and distract them from the fact that you're saying God tells us why we should care about the earth, as opposed to those secularists who just care about the earth.
Right.
Whether it's an outside force telling you to believe, to love the earth, or maybe you just already do because you see, ecosystems collapsing and people hurting and homeless and displaced because of climate change and so on and so forth. You don't need a reason to care about the earth if it's just enough that you care.
Okay.
Ken Ham is a big sin guy. We're cursed, and he almost smiles when he says, "Don't blame God. It's our fault."
And if you're a biblical sort of person and you think that God sends us messages, check out this message.
Things like floods and tsunamis, and landslides, droughts, and eruptions.
Yeah, check out that message, motherfucker, from God. It's like you're supposed to be the steward of the earth, and God is like, I mean, if you watch the news every day, flood, 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 fire, 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 flood, flood. You know, it's just like
how do you have a fire on an island? Hawaii burned up. It's like I'm looking at the photographs with the ocean right there, and it's all burned up, and it's just I don't know, is it irony? Maybe it's not the right word, but all that water sitting there, and all those charred homes sitting right next to it, and
There's that story, and they tell it in AA a lot about, how the guy is on top of his house and he's, the water's rising and he's drowning, and a canoe comes by and asks him, hey, if you want to ride? No, I'm waiting for God. And then a helicopter.
God will
comes.
provide.
Yeah, and then he drowns and says, what the fuck, God? And God says, well, I sent you a canoe and a helicopter. I mean, think about it, motherfucker. I mean, why? It's got to be politically motivated. These motherfuckers putting out this message, this garbage.
Well,
From fuel-powered hydraulic excavator.
He schmoozes with the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, I think it was. Yeah, he's got them all at the Ark, and he's got his arm around them. And oh yeah,
Excavators and harvesters.
Okay.
The power grids that support heaters, refrigerators, air conditioners, and hospitals and factories producing medicine. So harnessing creation to provide for the needs of people is good. And of course, Scripture warns against overconsumption.
Science and naturalism had nothing to do with any of that, right? Right?
But it also warns against laziness and unproductive fear. Proverbs 21:20. Precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it. Bearing false witness is evil and ungodly. And there are those, due to their sin nature, whether they realize it or not, who will try to manipulate people with climate alarmist propaganda to gain power and influence.
Now, what was that about foolish for? What was it? What was the word? Foolish for like abusing, taking too much. Wasn't that the?
But a foolish
man foolish devours it. Now, isn't devouring it kind of like
what we're doing?
Using up every last drop of oil instead of pacing it out a little bit. Wouldn't
right
that be devour? Yeah, the foolish man devours it. Okay. I'll agree.
Right.
I don't think he's reading it, but
he's not hearing it.
Whether they realize it or not, who will try to manipulate people with climate alarmist propaganda to gain power and influence. Trust Jesus. He is the author and sustainer of life. Isaiah 45:18, he made this world to be inhabited. And he has promised as long as the earth endures, we will have seasons. Genesis 8:22.
Again, wait. He made it to be inhabited. We are making mass extinction. Isn't that again?
We're killing all the shit.
We're killing what God wanted all these animals, but we're causing an extinction. This isn't God doing it. The other ones you can blame on God. This one we are doing. Yeah.
Yeah. We are devouring without replenishing. And that's not sustaining.
That's exactly opposite of the Bible verses that he's reading.
And plus, Jesus says this in Isaiah. No, he doesn't. No.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of
everything's Jesus. With Ken Ham, it's all Jesus though, Stephanie. Everything OT, everything Noah is just another image of Jesus. The one door on the ark is just like Jesus, who is the only one door to the Father. Ken Ham has all that his own little thing going there, and he's unusual.
So I got my check.
I suppose.
I got my check at the first of the month for preaching climate change propaganda. Did you guys get paid by the Solar Committee or whatever the fuck pays us? I mean, how much power and money are we getting from this?
Yeah, I got Soros. I keep waiting for the check. I keep waiting for it.
I've heard that many times. You get a check from Soros, and it's like, oh, I wish.
Yeah.
What'd you say before, Mike? We all got our price, right? You want me to say, oh, climate change is stupid? Write me a fat enough check, and I'll say it. But I'm not going to say it with a straight face.
I do have a price. They can call me up, and then
I'll say whatever you want if you pay me enough, but I'm not going to keep a straight face.
I'll not cease. Climate change will not end this world. God will end history exactly as he has planned. Jesus said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Dear friends, the messaging you are hearing from the world is wrong. Climate change will not end this world. God is in control. But there is eternal climate change coming, and that's something we really should fear, and rightly so. In Matthew 10:28, Jesus said, "And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell." We put our fear in the right place, and then we put our hope in the right place, which is found in Christ and Christ alone, who will sustain this world until he comes in his perfect timing. God created carbon. God created carbon dioxide. Using what God has given us is not evil, and stewarding it well for his glory is good.
Is there some rich oil executive who, spent a lot of money on AIG going, "Oh, these people are so stupid. I love it."
Well, you notice he said the world. Okay, now remember what George Carlin said. May he rest in peace. The world is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
The planet has been through far worse than us.
Yeah.
And it'll shake us off like a bad case of fleas.
Yep.
But we won't be here. People are effed. It's the people that are effed. The planet will be just fine even when the sun swells up and cooks it, it'll probably still be here. Just a big rock.
Yep.
It'll be just fine. Doesn't need us. That's what he's leaving out, is us.
I have a limerick.
What?
Extinction was never that hard. Siberian traps played the card. The Permian died. The Triassic tried to bring Earth back from the graveyard. Earth's been through this a million times. That's okay. It doesn't care about us, really.
We've been molten. We've been pummeled by the countless space rocks. Theory is another planet ran into ours and made the moon. What do they call it? The ice Earth, when it all froze over. Still here. But we have only been here, 200,000, 300,000 years?
Million, probably.
Yeah, depending which one you ask, but George Carlin still holds true. It's that, yeah, they're looking, the planet, save the planet. It's like, it should be, save everything. It's the planet's going to be just fine.
It depends on what you mean by we have been here, because we change every generation. Our genetics change. We're evolving constantly, and we sort of faded in and we're fading out, and we'll fade somewhere.
Even an early primate is what, a couple million years.
Couple million.
That's still nothing.
No, early primates are quite a bit longer than that, but humans probably. With our kind of brain, this particular cortical wiring we have, probably could be 1 million years that we've been around this wiring. Hard to say what happened.
There's a lot of different. Yeah, every time you try to get a number down, it's always different. But
we need to get an.
It's still a speck in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Genus Homo. Genus Homo. That's Homo habilis. That's not the oldest genus. Homo habilis. Homo habilis is 2.75 to 2.8 million years. Wow. Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens.
300,000 to present. So.
Yeah.
And one rock can be whipping around the sun right now that we can't even see coming. And in about 8 minutes, we could all be gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Well, maybe a little longer than 8. 8 minutes is the speed of light, but
I got you. But we get the general idea.
We'll call it an hour. In an hour from now, we could all be gone.
Yeah, that's why I keep putting off paying my credit cards.
I have another treat that I linked in the description, and this guy only has 252 subscribers, but he had 18,000 views 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fuck.
Pretty good.
So this is
That's
Calvary
viral.
Birmingham? I don't know. But this guy is talking about alien abduction, and I'm not sure if I clicked.
So if they are emanating from another realm, the interdimensional hypothesis, and I kind of think they're on the right line, we need to go to the source and help us explain what's happening there.
We got to get this on Bad Science Sunday. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh, you need this.
Oh, I got.
Oh, this is precious. This is really precious. Aliens are basically demons sent by the devil to fucking, and that's what created the Muslims and like however Islam started, the prophet, right? The prophet was being basically he encountered a demon alien who gave him this message, and so did the Mormons. You know, Smith. It was the same thing. It's all demons, demons, demons. And this guy is really present.
Visitors from another dimension, if I can put it that way. Doesn't it? Angels.
Sure, why not?
Ones and bad ones. But we've had one very famous visitor from another dimension, the Lord Jesus. And when he was in his trial before Pilate, he said, "My kingdom is not of this world. My kingdom."
This is Richard Madston territory.
Remember the transfiguration event? The disciples recounted it here in 2 Peter. They said, you know, when heaven opened up and a voice came down from heaven, said, "This is my son whom I love, with whom I am well pleased." They said, "We didn't follow cleverly invented stories. We told you about the power and coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. We were eyewitnesses of his majesty."
Yeah, that's who I listen to. The first is the one who says, "I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth." Because those are the ones that we trust the most, or the ones that tell us they're telling the truth.
Check the private chat, Mike. I just came across this guy here who is he's in line with Sid Roth, and he had this girl on who believes she's a half alien hybrid, and she got here to Earth because her alien mother has an interdimensional teleportation womb, and it shot her here from another wherever, and she inhabited another body or something, and the government has tested her, and because she talks with the aliens and everything, and it's just oh man, this channel is just check it out, man.
Do they still have
Tell you what, man, the level of Kegels exercise that you need to go through to have that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he asks, and well, what do the aliens say about Jesus? Oh, well, Jesus and Moses and everything, they were talking with the aliens because
they're best buds.
There's the guy right there. Oh, man, this guy is great. You know what his hobby is? While the rest of us are driving in traffic, you know, going to the store or visiting our relatives, he's out looking for Nephilim bones.
Nice. He has 202,000.
He'd have better luck with Bigfoot.
74K views on the STARCHILD.
Yeah, and it's just if you could just take everything that you ever heard, you know, Jesus, Bigfoot, aliens, just take all those words and stick them in one sentence. That's what it's like listening to these people. It's precious.
If I wanted to make money on YouTube, I can tell you about the rabbit I encountered after I basically had a dinner with mushrooms.
Do you know who Sid Roth is?
No.
Sid Roth has a show called It's Supernatural, and he'll invite everybody in the world on there that nobody else will have on their show.
Yeah.
This guy said, Sid hasn't called me in a while. I don't know what's going on. So he's gone beyond Sid Roth level of no, I can't have this dude on anymore.
Oh my God.
And Sid Roth will take everybody, you know, that has a demon exorcism, all that kind of stuff. They're just too far out for Oprah or anything else. They're on Sid Roth. And Sid Roth was is like telling this guy, oh, you're a little bit too much for me.
Oh my God. Okay, I got another piece here.
And he told us all about the miracles that Jesus performed was to tell us who he was, that he was the Messiah. And Colossians 1 says Jesus is the creator. John 1 says he is the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Well, Jesus also warns us. He gives us a heads up in Matthew 24. He says, false Christs, false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles.
Now, isn't that exactly what a false prophet would say? He would warn you about false prophets, right?
Miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. Now, a lot of people that attribute that to, a lot of the cults, etc. But actually, I think it applies to this because guess what? The fastest growing cults in the world today are the UFO cults, believe it or not. And they have their own messiahs. I've met some of their leaders, and they actually claim they've been aboard the spaceship and they've met Jesus. Now, I believe they've actually had real experiences. Now, you can have a real experience, but here's the key. Was it a truthful experience? Because you notice the second part of that? To deceive even the elect. He's saying some of these signs and wonders will be manifested with the purpose of deceiving. So there's a heads up to Christians that you've got to be careful in some respects of signs and wonders. Unless they line up with the Bible, because that's the only source you can have to determine their truthfulness. Right, and millions of people.
Right. Okay. What the fuck is wrong with this dude? I think, let's see if he does it at this point here.
And he nails it here. He says, I propose the hypothesis there's a control system for human consciousness. What takes place through close encounters with UFOs is control of human beliefs, control of the relationship between our consciousness and physical reality. This control has been enforced throughout history. It is of secondary importance that it should now assume the form of sighting of space visitors. Valet has probably written more books on this than anybody else. He wrote that hundreds of years ago, people had encounters with entities called fairies. We kind of laugh when we hear that today, right? Because in our enlightened age, we don't believe in fairies. But guess what? A couple of hundred years ago, people did. They were popular culture.
Hey,
and the
now.
experiences they had.
Is he listening to himself?
I got my fairy.
Yeah, I got fairies.
I got my fairy. And fairies wear boots. And you got to believe me.
Yeah, you got to believe me.
Well, to quote a very famous fairy, Lord, what fools these mortals be.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, yeah. Here's where he comes up with his
Precedent for
theory
this?
about Mormons.
Ever heard of a man called Joseph Smith? He's the father of the Mormon cult, isn't he? And guess what? Joseph Smith had what I call the visitor experience. An angel visited him. He meditated in a cave for 6 months. He came out. His sayings written on bones and parchments, and there's debate amongst Islamic scholars as to when the Quran was collated.
That's Muhammad.
And then there were, sorry, I'm talking about Joseph Smith, the Mormons.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of skipped around there, buddy.
A little bit.
Joseph Smith
missed a slide.
Gold tablets, right, which were extra biblical revelation. The other guy I'm referring to is Muhammad. Sorry. He meditated in a cave for 6 months. He had the visitor experience. So there's two of the world's largest cults today, all based upon.
Nope, he forgot.
And Jesus was alone in the desert.
No.
For 40 days and 40 nights.
For 40 days and 40 nights.
He belongs to another cult.
And he fought his demons just like Siddhartha did.
Yeah.
Satan showed him the world. All this is yours, All you got to do is jump off the mountain.
Yeah, so he makes a big case about, demons and the devil basically controlling our consciousness and creating cults and stuff like that. And if he were to just look and ask himself the question, hey, maybe Christianity is the same way. Maybe it's another cult. And maybe Jesus had a visit, whatever. Anyway, I thought that was precious, but I linked that in the description.
If you're into this stuff, I dropped a link for the STARCHILD, and the one is his name is Sid Roth. It's called it's Supernatural. I'm pretty sure he's an older guy. He's got white hair, And if you want to hear the far out stuff, and this guy too, yeah, this guy's LA something or whatever his name is. There she is.
Oh, she looks like a star child.
That's the star child right there. She's 21 years old, and she's already been, talking with the aliens. She's been through the military, the CIA, on and on and on. And he says, "How old are you?" 21.
I think there's I think there must be like some leftover scripts from the 60s and 70s, and she's just found those and is just reciting them.
She may have a little meth, like a little crystal meth. I don't know.
No, she's got some kind of a big page too with, I don't know, TikTok or whatever. I don't know what she's got, with bazillion followers or whatever. Yeah, she's making bank off saying that her genetics are half alien. Of course, there's no genetic tests that say she's half alien, but people will,
My cat is snoring.
Line up.
Well, we probably don't have the technology to locate the alien part of her DNA. So,
Oh, and this is a two-parter, and his hero, one of his heroes is, guess who? Uri Geller.
Oh no.
Even though he was completely debunked, he still thinks his powers are real. It wasn't debunked. He all really does that. He's precious. I just stumbled across it, and it made my afternoon watching some of his videos.
Fuck, this is from June of 2023. Shit, June 26th.
He's got current stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay.
He's got upcoming things where he's going to be. He goes out in the field looking for giant bones.
What are we doing? Just reviewing crackpots? But
starting out with Sal Cordova is a good place to begin. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, you started it.
Well, the thing is, okay, now here's the important thing, and I want you to listen to my theory about the tail wagging the dog. There aren't many crazy fuckers who believe right down, into that little fundamentalist Christian creationist subset in the United States. But that little tiny, like 5 or 10% of the people, or 7% or whatever, they are wagging the fucking dog because they're putting out this fear narrative, right? And like they'll get into the trans thing and the climate change thing and the immigration thing. They'll get into all of the things that affect 50% of this country who are voting for assholes like Trump. So these guys with their narrative, they are the tail wagging the fucking dog. And that's what's going on right now. So if you ever doubt that what we're doing is important in fighting back against some of this stuff, consider that these fuckers, even though there aren't that many of them, are being listened to nevertheless by 50% of us at least. And they're having an effect, and they're getting votes, and they're making changes in policy. And this is like, we're at a very crucial time in this country. And we have been since 2016. Surprise, surprise. Democracy could just fucking disappear just like that because of how we vote. And these fuckers are feeding that whole mess. And they're doing it with fear. And they do it with narrative.
Okay, come on.
Come on?
Yeah.
Are you talking to yourself or your dog or Siri?
Oh, I'm talking to the dog here at my feet.
I was saying, and channels like these are eating it up right now with all the UFO stuff going on and everything. Their views are all up, and they're making bank off all this nonsense too.
And we're gonna get
gotta be careful. I mean, I was talking with this Skylar guy, first time I ever heard of him or met him or anything, and he got all pissed off with me because I said,
Fiction?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm going, dude. He was going on about it. Basically, it can't happen here, right? It's like losing democracy and all of that stuff. He's going like blah blah blah. Even going, we came so close.
Yeah,
so close. In January of 2021, we came this close to losing it.
To a coup. Yeah. I mean, a real one that fucking, if the military had gone along with the motherfucker, it's just like, what the fuck? I don't know.
And he went off on me. It's like, okay, well, hell of a, you're making a hell of a first impression. I think I'll leave now. Jesus.
Yeah.
And he's an atheist, It's like, what?
Yeah. Well,
This is the thing that's
No,
weird.
he's not an atheist anymore. He did
No.
have some sort. Yeah, he gained a God belief of some sort. I don't know exactly what belief, but he said he's no longer an atheist.
He's got a video called "Pleasuring Yourself for Jesus." I don't know.
Well, maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's a doctrinal shift.
Oh, yeah,
Well, I think some of their arguments
that could be was Jesus kind of comes in a vision. I don't know.
And Godless Girl and a bunch of the other ones. I think they're just trying to distance themselves away from certain atheist personalities.
Well, and a lot of these folks, they start out somewhat young and they become atheists and then they change. So, you've got to expect a certain percentage of the atheist group to kind of go back and forth or even just go back to religion, because it's just hard to get rid of those early influences in your life like that.
Well, the other thing, a lot of people, they're atheists, but they haven't really thought it over and nailed down, why. And they're sort of just not believers at the moment, and then they'll sway one way or the other. But
I was an atheist until I was 8 years old, and then I found Jesus, and it's like,
yeah, right,
really.
Yeah. I was an atheist until I was 3. And my mom brought me to church and showed me Jesus. Like
the one the other day was 11, 12 years old or something. That's when I found the truth. Oh, at 11 years old, 12, you found the truth. Sure you did.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
We were all teenagers. We thought we knew everything, and we didn't.
Wow.
But we thought we did.
I actually did.
Except for speed. Well, there's always an exception that makes the rule.
I actually did know.
I don't know. Maybe I'm lumping Skylar in with Doug. It's the same basic idea, though. You just have bizarre, weird ideas as to stuff.
I haven't checked into him for a while.
I like lots of weird and far out stuff, and I always have. But I've been accused of not being open-minded because I don't embrace some of these things, and it's like, well, no, it's just, it doesn't matter what it is. You either have good evidence for it or not, and if not, then I'm skeptical. It doesn't matter what it is. So, but I'm open-minded enough to not say I know everything, or there cannot be this or that or another universe or what. Yeah, lots of unknowns out there. And I think that's what these arguments are, is they don't want to close themselves off to saying, well, sure, anything's possible, right? Just not probable.
Dave Ember stopped in to see if he wants to really go on your show tonight. So
he already confirmed last night, so he's locked in.
So what time are you having him on?
7 p.m. Eastern.
7? I don't understand Eastern. Okay. So that's what?
That's 1 hour different from you.
So that's like, let me think.
Be 6 o'clock for you, Mike.
Thank you. The one true zone, 6 o'clock. Okay.
No, I'm not talking about Knock Icarus. I'm talking about
no, the raging converter.
the raging formerly atheist, but now whatever. But Knock does fit that mold of going,
Yeah, and
back because of a religious experience. Knock at least hasn't completely revised his political stance, and he's not naive.
But he went on Matt Paul's channel, the motherfucker. I mean, which I can't believe he did. Yeah, yeah. And Matt Paul was, oh boy, I got him right here. I got him just right next to Jesus. I'm just about to reel him in. He was reeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, after what Matt Paul did to him in that movie that he did with the interview and all that shit where he clipped it and made Knock look like an idiot. And I can't believe he went on his channel, but he did. So.
Well, Ember has a lot of people on, and he talks with them and finds out a bit about them. And
he has a really good
tonight. So tonight it's his turn. He's in the hot seat tonight, and we're gonna ask Ember about a few things. So we should have a good time.
Yeah, grill that motherfucker. Grill him.
Yeah, I think he deserves a good grilling.
I've got my notes ready, and I got a little. I'll give you a little teaser. I got a little fun thing I added in there. We're gonna throw at Ember too. So
Yeah. You know, I just want to say real quick, Dave, I really like your glow-in-the-dark office chair there.
It's orange.
I know, it's just bright orange. It's like,
that's my orange.
It's getting me in the mood for fall, and I found an orange fedora online, very tasteful looking thing. I say orange, but it's a kind of a burnt orange, and I need to construct a nice suit around it and become the Great Pumpkin. You know, in the fashion of Santa Claus, but I'm the Great Pumpkin.
If you haven't noticed, I have a lot of orange on my channel, and I wear a lot of orange, and I love it.
Orange.
It's supposed to remind me to be harmonious when things are crashing down around you, and it doesn't always work, but that's my reminder is orange. You know, a lot of the monks and everything wear orange and stuff, you know, and so I just kind of got into orange, and that's my reminder to don't step over the edge.
So this guy right here, Richard Ojekangas from Minnesota, from Duluth. I was up north on the Iron Range. D range, as we call it down here in Minneapolis, and I met a guy who was a geologist, and we were talking about the geology of Minnesota, and he said his UMD professor was Richard Ojekangas, and I looked him up, and the guy is still alive, and he's like in his 90s, and he's doing climate change videos, and he's let's see if you got a picture of him here somewhere. I think he was on here. But he's really fucking old, and he's even having trouble talking. But he does a thing on climate change. And he also wrote 3 geology books. He wrote the Schaum Outline series on geology. He wrote Roadside Geology of Minnesota, and I bought all his books. Anyway, I linked him in the chat. It's kind of interesting.
We were there in the last place and the first place.
He's really
Lewis is running out of oil and laid back.
I mean, he's really old, and you know, but he still speaks all over. He goes on, you know, does talks on geology and stuff like that, and he is not a young Earth creationist. Go figure. Professor of geology at the UMD for many years, and then now he's retired. And anyway, I thought he was interesting, and his books are interesting, so I put him in my description just to be safe. Okay, guys, we're going to shoot her in the head. Oh, no, Stephanie's gone. We can't shoot her in the head if a guest is gone. Stephanie.
Yeah, you can't like just ghost her, you know.
She's still there, okay, but we just can't see her. You know, so.
I heard you say shoot him in the head, so I figured I'd be back for the
Okay, watch this shit now. This is going to be spooky. No, she didn't.
No. I didn't fade. I didn't hit the fade button. I hit the fuzz button.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna shoot her in the head. Dave, you are muted.
I say when you can't explain something any other way, it's interdimensional travel. So.
Yeah, interdimensional. Yeah. That's what's behind all the cults, and that's what behind.
Sorry, we got a street sweeper out here. It was making all kind of noise.
Oh, and you
hit the mute.
Okay, we're shooting her in the head. Goodbye, cruel world.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.